Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of Spoiled. My name is Enosh, aka Enosh Fett, and with me, as always, is the lovely
Grand Tiff Tarkin.
That's right. And you better watch it because she will track your butt through hyperspace. And this is Wookie. He is our new dog. He owes us a life debt.
To the family.
Yes,
Woo!
welcome. There he is. And right now, he's got to get down so that we can finish this.
Yes.
Finish this review. And today we are talking about a very special movie. And what is that movie, Tiff?
Solo, a Star Wars story.
That's right. Today we're talking about Solo, and we probably should have done a Deadpool review. It's been a little while since we've done a review, but hey, there's been a lot of changes here in the Fee House.
A little bit.
If you can't tell, I've lost a little bit of weight. I am down 85 pounds, and so I've been kind of focused on that. But now we're ready to get back into some of this fun stuff, and I'm feeling good again. And after my surgery, and so. There's
Infinity War we should have.
Oh, Infinity War, we should have done that one too.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll play some catch up and get a couple of those movies done here in the next couple weeks. All right, but hey, today we're talking about Solo, and this was a movie. We'll just jump right into it. This was a movie that Tiff, I wasn't really that excited about.
Neither was I.
I got to be honest with you. Everybody knows I'm a big Star Wars fan, but when I first heard that this movie was coming out and being made, I kind of echoed what everybody else said. I mean, do we really need this movie?
No one asked for it.
No one asked for this movie. And so I kind of felt that way for a long time. How about you, Tiff?
I felt the same way. When they said that they had a handful of people that were up for the role for Han Solo, and when they said they had finally chosen Alden Ehrenreich, I was a little frustrated just because I liked the guy who played a young Harrison Ford in The Age of Adeline. And
Gruber.
Yes, he was very
Yes.
good. He had the mannerisms down. He sounded like a young Harrison Ford,
Yeah.
and I thought he was the best choice, but unfortunately they didn't go with him, so I was concerned on how, especially with the issues they had with him trying to be too funny, and you've got to have a fine line to play Harrison Ford's Han Solo.
Yeah, and so then, at first, I thought it was a bright spot that they hired Lord and Miller to direct the movie. I mean, they had directed the Lego Movie. They've done some other movies that were pretty good, and I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And then the reports came out that after they had filmed like 70% of the movie, that there were issues with it, and that they were basically making a comedy instead of making a Star Wars movie. And hey, listen, I love comedy in Star Wars.
Yes.
When it's done well. There should always be a little bit of comedy.
Be a moof milker.
Yeah. There should always be good comedy in Star Wars. And that's one thing, like I liked The Last Jedi, and I know there's a lot of people who didn't. But one of the complaints about that movie was some of the humor.
Yeah.
With Poe and Hux and stuff like that. And that's stuff that I actually have to agree with to a point. That there's some things in there that just don't really fit Star Wars. And so I agree with those things. And so came out that this movie was like, they even compared it to Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
And that threw up red flags everywhere to me. And then Lord and Miller got fired.
But seeing what happened when we saw the movie, I actually am glad that he did then, because of the changes that were done, I really agreed with.
Yeah, so, but it's usually not a good sign when, you got two directors directing the movie and they both get fired, past halfway, they're almost done shooting and they get fired. That's not a good sign. But they brought in
reshoots.
But they brought in Ron Howard, who is he's a great director.
Yep.
And I think that he was probably what this movie needed.
Yes.
So that's what we got. And so there were concerns everywhere. And so we didn't see a lot of advertising for this movie because of The Last Jedi and because this movie was only 6 months later.
I thought it was because there were so many people going against it that they're like, I'm not going to show too much in the previews because I don't want to give away anything. I want you to make your own decisions once you've seen the movie. And I think that was a smart move too.
But I will say this. So over the last couple months or so, month and a half, whatever, that they started really kind of promoting the movie, I was starting to dig what I saw coming out about it.
Even while other people were saying that I still don't know. And I'm like, well, you know what? We had to give Guardians of the Galaxy a chance, and we ended up liking that. We had to give Black Panther a chance, not knowing anything about that movie, and that still ended up turning out, good. So you've got to give You got to give it a chance.
Yeah, and so I look at it like this. I mean, they didn't show us a lot of Alden Ehrenreich,
Nope.
which concerned me too, because I'm
Well,
like,
I
does
actually
that
think
mean
that was a smart move, though.
Yeah, but at first I was like, is that because they're scared to show him before? Because they showed Donald Glover, who did an amazing job
Yeah.
as Lando, and nailed that part. And like you were saying, I mean, he even sounded like Billy
Yeah.
D. Williams. So
I was expecting to see Billy D. Williams. He nailed it. So
yeah. So but
I felt that Han had to do the same thing.
so then the movie comes out, all right? And so we're just going to give you a warning right now. Spoiler warning. We're going to talk about spoilers for this movie and just talk about some of the stuff that happened in this movie. And just like you were right there with us when we watched the movie, and we're just having a conversation.
If you have not seen the movie, do not watch this. We are not in trouble for saying something that was in the movie.
Unless you don't care about spoilers. Hey, I was with some people just
Then
the other
go
day,
ahead.
and they were like, I don't care about spoilers. And so I told them exactly what happened. And they were like, cool, we're going to go see it.
But if you are one of those people who don't want to know, pause this, come back to our video, and go see it.
Leave it on your screen so it burns our face into your
Yes.
computer screen, and then come back and yeah, go watch the movie right now. All right, so Tiffany, movie
Yes.
opens differently because these Star Wars story
Yes.
movies don't have an opening crawl, which I disagree with, but we won't go there. But it starts off now with blue text
Yes.
throughout the entire
And it
thing,
explains
like
it since
a
there's no-
long time
yeah.
ago in a galaxy far, far away. And it kind of, like you said, explains where we're going to. What did you think of that? The
I
opening?
actually thought, since we weren't going to have the crawl, I thought that was a great way to kind of tie it together, give it its own flavor, kind of its own feel, where it just kind of like updated it. Like, okay, we're not going to get a crawl, but this is kind of explaining, this is what's going on here. And to open up in an action scene with Han being in his car and just, okay, what's happening here? Where's he going? Who's chasing him? And so it was kind of nice that, like, it had all these questions at first, but then the more you watched, you're like, oh, okay, that's where he came from. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I liked it because at least they used the blue crawl this time, unlike Rogue One,
Yeah.
where
just,
not the
bam,
blue
here's the
crawl,
movie.
but the blue text, and so it made it feel like Star Wars still, where like it was just a continuation of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Here we're going to explain to you the story, and I actually really liked that, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. And then I liked the logo for Solo
Yes.
so much better than the one
Yes.
for Rogue One that they showed. I don't understand. We got the Solo logo that's been in all the previews and everything. When Rogue One came out, Rogue One had a fine looking logo, and then they didn't use it. They used this thing that looked like you could make it in like Microsoft Art, where it's just like yellow, and yeah, I don't know. That was really weird. But so we jump right in where Han and I told you, and I think it's even on our review of The Last Jedi, those dice
Yes.
were going to show up in this Han movie. And they kept showing those dice
Yes.
in the movie. Actually, the one thing that I was kind of disappointed, they showed him put the dice on the
Mirror of the
on the car. They showed him giving the dice to Kira, and I know we're skipping ahead a little bit, but giving the dice to Kira. I was disappointed that they didn't show him put the dice up on the Millennium Falcon.
Yes. I
That would
was
have been a
thinking the
nice
same
little
thing.
bookend for the end of the movie.
Yep.
If they would have showed him put up his dice
To show mine.
on the Millennium Falcon. This one's mine, right? But they didn't, but oh well. So we jump into Han is hot wire in a car, and how cool is that car? I love
is
the toy
so
of that
cool.
car. That car is so cool. I'm sorry, I just love it. And
want
I
one
mean
for
he's
the
burning out. He's burning out, he's skidding, doing the whole drift thing. Man, it was cool. And so then he gets Kira. After, of course, they bump into the crime lord there. That crazy
That was
looking,
after him.
crazy
Kind
looking.
of cool looking, though.
Yeah, but it was interesting because even then it showed that Han was thinking ahead.
Yes.
That he knew that they needed sunlight, and so I love how he pulls out the rock and acts like it's a thermal detonator, and that's a callback to Return of the Jedi, a little bit. And I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was a neat little callback. There's tons of callbacks in this movie.
Oh, so many.
So many that it's hard to even count. But so
Bosk.
yes, they mentioned Bosk. They dropped
By name.
Bosk's name. I know we're skipping ahead and we're kind of getting ahead of
It's
ourselves.
exciting.
But they even talked about what's her name, the bounty hunter who was in
Aura
episode
Singh.
1, Aura Singh. Yes, they talked about Aura Singh and how Beckett, Woody Harrelson's character, killed her. which all kind of ties in then to Boba Fett in a way, because if you watch the Clone Wars cartoon, Aura Singh kind of took, and Bosk both
Yep.
took Boba Fett under their wing
When he was little.
after Episode 2, and and kind of started this whole thing together during the Clone Wars. So it'd be interesting to see, because they just announced a Boba Fett movie that is going
Maybe
to
that's
also
why they tied it in.
that's also going to feature some of the bounty hunters from the Star Wars universe, and so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I thought was interesting is the fact that you don't like Woody Harrelson normally as an actor, so he was concerned about having him in this movie
That
as
was
well.
another concern of mine going into this movie, because I'm not a big fan of his, but it is what it is. So anyway, we get to Han and Kira are going to leave the planet of Corellia and take off, and they start to leave, and they get separated.
Just as
and-
Han makes it through the checkpoint.
Yeah, and so then Han decides he's going to join the Empire, and I like that. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, but the thing that I thought was interesting is this is only happening in the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie. You haven't connected with these characters yet. You don't know them. You don't have anything. And to have the emotional connection like that, where he's on one side screaming for her and she's getting, pulled away, and
Yeah.
and you're like almost tearing up, like, I don't even know these characters yet, but yet I'm connected so quickly. So I thought that was cool too.
Yeah. So, but then what I thought was cool too is that they tied in some stuff that's been legends and it's kind of been things that we'd heard about Han Solo, but never really got concrete, stories of, and that is that Han was an Imperial officer and that he joined the Empire, and then it skips a couple years and he no longer wants to be there, and he doesn't believe in what he flunked out of the academy, and so he's not a pilot like he wanted to be. He's just kind of a grunt soldier and kind of miserable, and along comes Beckett, Woody Harrelson, and
Every time
and
I
his
said
crew.
Beckett, it reminded me of Quantum Leap.
Yep, and so he sees an opportunity there to kind of get out of the Empire and to move on to something different, and so then the story, I think, really kind of kicked off from there.
Yeah.
And kind of started to show us the Han Solo that we kind
know
of
and love.
remembered. And but before
Seeing
that,
his beginnings was cool too.
but before that,
how they connected.
Han gets thrown in the mud pit
Yeah.
with who?
A little guy named Chewbacca
Yep. And
who was trying to rip his arms off.
And I dug that. I thought that was cool, and it shows that Han, can speak Wookiee.
Which was very cool.
Yep, that he can speak Wookiee.
Because as soon as he started talking to him, well, Wookiee's trying to kill him, essentially. And he's like, no, these people, and trying
Yep.
to explain it all. And he's like, if we work together. And then it was so funny. I was laughing my butt off when all of a sudden Chewie's like, he's looking at him. He's like, do you want to get out of here? Let's help you. You can do what you want to do. I'll do what I want to do. And Wookiee just looks like, from the people looking down, it looks like
Chewbacca. She thinks she's
I'm
talking
sorry,
about the dog, our
Chewie.
dog. Yeah.
But he looks like he's like hitting him from where he's at, but he's like, no, don't hit me. But he's really hitting the pole to try
Yep.
and, make. So it was funny just to see the two of them.
That was good
connect.
comedy. That was
Yes,
good
that
comedy.
comedy was good.
Yeah, and it showed this friendship starting
Yeah,
with
the
Han
blooming.
and Chewie.
And he's like, what's your name, Chewbacca? Yeah, well, I'm going to have to come up with something shorter because I'm not going to say Chewbacca every time.
Yep. So that was really great, and I loved all that. And so then they go on to do this heist where where they are stealing fuel, and with Beckett and his crew. And I thought that whole scene was great. That was a great action scene. It was like an old western where they're kind of robbing
Yep.
a train.
And his girlfriend, Val, who was played by Thandie Newton, I thought that was a great addition to the Star Wars family.
Now let's talk about Enfys Nest. So there was some surprise there. Enfys Nest later made it look like a guy. All right, so let's talk about Enfys Nest. There was a surprise character for me because I did not see that coming, that Enfys Nest ended up being a female. But I thought it was
That
pretty
character
cool.
was so kick butt, you just assumed it was a man.
I didn't say that. She said that.
I'm not being sexist either. I thought it was awesome it was a woman, but it's like when you see certain characters, you're just like, oh, I know who that is. I know what that is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And it
Well,
threw
and
you
the
for a
voice
loop.
sounded like a man because the voice
Because
was
of the
changed.
modulator.
And stuff. So, but that whole scene with, that whole exchange, I thought was just really, really great. All those scenes and then it kind of gets down to the crew is kind of eliminated, down to just Beckett, Han, and Chewie. But before that, now let's talk
That
about
little
this.
four-armed guy I thought was adorable
Yeah,
too.
yeah, he was fun. But Han gets his Blastech DL-44 gun, and that was interesting.
That it was
That it was
handed to him.
That it was handed to him. It was handed to him.
Ah.
Handed to him. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if that was too on the nose. You know, that we needed to see him get his blaster.
Plus, the other thing we
don't know.
didn't agree with was he only went by Han,
Oh.
and the fact that when he did go into not what was it, not the army, but the
In the Empire, yeah.
Empire,
Yeah.
they were trying to figure out what to name him, and he's like, "I'm by myself," and he's like, Han Solo." Like we didn't like that. That's how he got his name.
Don't like that at all. That there because I don't believe with the way Han Solo is that he
That would have just been by chance.
well, I don't believe that he would have kept that name that the Empire gave him.
Yeah.
You know, no. Like I said, I don't like everything about everything Star Wars. So that bothered me, but you know, I move on.
But it's not something that's gonna hold him up and
yeah,
make
it's
him
not. It doesn't
like
ruin the movie for me. It didn't ruin my childhood. Don't worry, I'm okay. So then they all meet up. He sees Kira again. Kira is working for Voss, and they
Dryden Voss,
Yep.
who is Vision in a different face.
get Paul Bettany.
So we love Paul Bettany.
And they send him on this mission. And there's some cool name drops there with Scarif,
Yep.
talking about how they could try to break into Scarif, but it'd be too hard. And we saw that in Rogue One. So that was kind of cool. But then they go and they decide to try to steal it, and they have to go to Kessel.
Which was so cool.
I thought it was very cool to see Kessel.
Yes.
That whole exchange, I love Lando. You know,
I loved Lando's robot. It was so cute.
the fact that Lando was cheating in Sabacc,
Yes.
and that whole exchange. Then they get to Kessel and they're fighting, and Chewie frees some Wookiees, and we get to see Lando's skiff guard
Yeah, that's right.
costume on Woody Harrelson. That was a great throwback.
That was cool.
That was so cool to see. Get
Kira
to
was trying on his capes and everything, and
I know.
he's like got all these cool capes.
the
made to
Millennium
show.
Falcon.
Yes.
All
When
those
it was
things.
brand new,
When it was
and
brand
why
new.
it's missing the front piece.
Yes.
That was cool.
Well, that it had the front piece in there for an escape pod. So all of that I liked. And then, Lando's droid kind of having this, thing of wanting...
L337.
L337 wanting to be, a liberated droid and kind of having this attitude and everything. I actually dug that too. I thought that was pretty cool. But then once they free everybody on Kessel and they kind of are going through that. Also, I thought it was funny that Lando mentions that he hates mining colonies because he eventually, as we all know, ends up on Cloud City on Bespin running a Tabana gas mine where it's a mining colony. So that's kind of funny, a little tongue-in-cheek there.
Do you know who did the voice of Lady Proxima?
No.
Do you know who Edna Modes is in Incredibles?
Yeah.
That's who did the voice of Lady Proxima.
Wow, look at there. Tiffany's on it. She doesn't have like her phone on the other side of this. She's not looking those things up at all. It's all up here. It's all up there.
Super nerd.
Yeah. So, but
Super.
so Lando's droid dies, and they bring her aboard the Falcon, and then
Hook her up to
well, first they have to get out of there. The Empire has blocked out their way, and this is what I thought was cool. If any of you read the Jedi, I believe it was the Jedi Academy trilogy of books, you'll know that they kind of explained a little bit of Han Solo's. They explained basically how Han Solo did the Kessel Run, and it involved the Maw. Back then, and these cluster of black holes and things like that, and they established that it was not that a parsec is not a unit of time, that it is a unit of measurement, just like a real parsec is. And I know this has been like a weird thing for people for a long time, because Han Solo made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs, and what does that mean, and everything else.
Well, we found out in this movie.
Yeah, so
And
I'll say
sense.
this for me, Tiffany. Well, first of all, Tiffany, what did you think of the Kessel Run itself?
I thought it was
That's
cool.
a big historic
It is.
Star Wars thing.
And
so.
it's one of those things that has always been talked about and made reference to, but you've only heard it in stories. It's not something you've physically seen. So to see it in this movie, I thought it was very cool. And I think afterwards, how you'd assume if you did that so quickly, did it 12 versus 36 or something like that, that people would be impressed. And he's still having to, throughout the movie, be like, so did you hear I made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs? It's like he still has to kind of like, hey, guess what I did?
it. Yeah, they said that they couldn't be done in less than 20.
Yeah.
So
12 is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, so he shaved some off it. So I'm going to be honest with you. It was cool. I was glad to see it. But I didn't think it lived up to the hype of being the Kessel Run. That this was what we were finally seeing. That basically he took a shortcut. I really liked better the explanation that they gave in the books.
Yeah.
Because the explanation in the books talked about how he had to fly near these black holes that kind of distorted time and space. So it distorted the amount of
It did show some of that,
kind of
but
like
not
wormholes,
fully.
kind of like wormholes, and so he was able to do the Kessel Run in less distance than you would normally have to do it because he took a chance by getting really close to these black holes, and so reading that, it was a lot more descriptive, and it was a
But
lot.
Harry Potter's like that too. You read the books, and the books can sometimes explain
and
it
so
better
the
than
way
a
that they
movie
did
can.
this, where he's basically just flying through this other thing, I don't know how that. It was still cool, but I didn't think it was as cool as reading it before in that Jedi Academy.
I think
trilogy.
visually seeing something that's only been talked about for me was cool.
But it was cool seeing the maw.
Yeah.
And then that
kind of reminded me a little of Parallax, but not so weird.
Yeah, and then the
off.
beast that came out, the squid-like beast that came out, and Han fires the
escape pod.
escape pod and stuff, so we know that that's how that happened and stuff. Here's another little thing. So they get all out of that and everything, and then Lando, and this is something that I almost missed, and that is Lando says to Han, "I hate you."
Yeah.
But did you notice what Han said to him? He says, "I hate you," and Han says, "I know." I thought that was great. That was cool. So, then after that, the movie's kind of coming to an end, and we find out that Enfys Nest is a female, and actually is helping establish some of the early. Oops, got to
Rebel.
adjust this a little bit. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Kind of the early startings of some of the rebellion.
Yep.
And so I thought that was kind of cool. And Han, in an indirect way, kind of helps out the rebellion.
Yep.
And then everybody turns on everybody. Beckett, here's the thing. I wish that Beckett maybe hadn't been the one to turn on Han, because he kind of telegraphed that at the beginning by saying, "Don't trust anybody."
He did.
And then it ended
was
up
a
being
foreshadowing.
Yeah, so
Even the people you think you can trust, don't trust them.
yeah,
Making you think, oh, maybe he's talking to this person or this person, and
yeah.
you gotta get to the part though where it made you drop your mouth for like
So
5 minutes
yes,
in the movie.
so I got to see the movie again because
which we're gonna do tomorrow.
Yes, I got to see the movie again because I got to pay more attention to that spot, because I couldn't pay any attention to it because I was freaking out. Because
A little bit.
Because Beckett kidnaps Chewie, takes him away, and then basically Kira and Han end up fighting Voss, Dryden Voss, and Kira just beats Voss, and so Han goes after,
Which he doesn't expect, so that was kind of a cool turn.
and Han goes after Chewie and Beckett,
Yep.
and he gets out there, and then we see Kira
Stay behind and
Kira-
grab a ring off of Dryden's hand.
and put it into the computer, and it brings up a hollow figure.
Hologram.
And at first I'm looking at it's a hooded figure.
Kind of sitting there like hunched over a little bit,
yeah.
just kind of looking.
And I'm thinking, man, that kind of looks like, it looked like the Emperor a little bit, because he's a hooded figure.
That's impossible.
But, well, no, I mean, it definitely could have been the Emperor.
Well, it could have been, but it did.
But
you could tell by looking and like
It didn't look like the
you know.
Emperor. And then when he started talking, it definitely wasn't the Emperor's voice. And then it cuts back to Han and Beckett, and I love it because Beckett is kind of, doing the monologuing thing, where he's kind of just talking to Han, and stuff, and then Han just shoots him.
Yep. He shot first. Yeah.
I made a meme that said that this movie should just be 2 hours of Han shooting things first.
Yes.
That's what it should have been. But no, seriously though, that was great. I applauded that because I'm glad then that Beckett didn't say as he was dying, "Well, kid, you're very smart. You always shoot first." I'm glad there was no cheesy dialogue there, that it just happened.
Cheesy dying.
Yep, I'm glad it just happened. But then it goes back to Kira, and she's talking to this figure.
And she's very stoic. Like, I want to know from this movie more about what happened to her during that time that she was apart from Han.
Oh my gosh. And then the hooded figure takes his hood off and reveals that it's none other
Wait for it.
than Darth Maul. Oh!
And if that wasn't enough, he had an upgraded version of his double-handed lightsaber, like
The one that was in Rebels. The one that was in Rebels.
Yep.
And he's got the electronic legs. I'm still in shock. I mean, I knew that Maul was alive and everything, obviously.
But to bring him onto the young Han Solo.
But to bring in Ray Park, who we're going to meet this summer in August because he's coming to the Michigan Comic-Con. And now it's even more exciting now.
And Timothy Zahn will be signing our books.
Oh!
It's a good year to be a nerd.
And and I believe Kevin J. Anderson might be there too, who actually did that Jedi Academy trilogy. So I have to talk to him about how they retconned his Kessel Run story. But no. Darth Maul, just Maul now, because he's not Darth, because he's angry at the Emperor. Yeah. But oh my goodness, who would have ever thought that we would see the return of Darth Maul?
And he
live
asked
action
her to come and meet him
on Dathomir.
So what the heck?
What are we doing here? Are we doing like the Marvel Universe where we're setting up for another movie?
Did Han leaving her cause her to go to the dark side?
What is going on? I don't know. Like, where does that fit in? Now, I know that Darth Maul was part of a crime syndicate and all that stuff, but where does that fit into this movie, and what does that mean for the future? Because here's the thing. They're talking about an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, but we all know that Obi-Wan killed Maul in Rebels on the cartoon.
So
and here's the thing. They can't meet up because they didn't even know each other were alive. So now I kind of wish that they hadn't fought in Rebels, because I would have loved to have seen this in live action with Maul. So I don't know what they're setting up for. I don't know where that goes, but that's basically how, the movie goes back to Han tracks down Lando. I love this scene. Let's go back for a second. I love the scene where Han tries to be a big shot and comes up and in front of Enfys Nest and says, "See that cargo ship over there? It's got 30 guys on there that all I got to do is give the word, and they're all going to be out here, and you'll be surrounded." And then Lando just takes off. That was sweet.
Good.
And so it gets to the end. Han, I love it. He bumps into him. They do that kind of thing like they do together in Empire.
Yep.
Where they hold each other, and stuff. And Han takes away.
And realizes he saw his little cheating maneuver there.
And so I love it. Han
puts not before he has Lando put up the Millennium Falcon as the collateral for, playing cards.
Yep, and Han wins the Millennium Falcon fair and square.
As Lando sits around the table kind of pushing the button like, where's my card? Where's the one that I'm supposed to win with?
Yep.
And Han goes, well, you mean like this green card? Bam!
Boom.
And he looks like, ah.
And so then we get our final shot of Han and Chewie in their respectful places. Okay.
Yes. That would have been the perfect place to be like, there's where the dice go.
Exactly. Well, and here's something cool too, and you briefly mentioned it for a second. So Lando's droid gets updated and put into the computer of the Millennium Falcon, which sheds a lot of light now on Empire, where C-3PO says, "Your ship has the most interesting dialect. I can't understand. It's got an attitude and all this stuff that, like, why would the Millennium Falcon have an attitude? Because that droid is in it, and that droid has an attitude." And so it's just, I really like this movie. I can't wait
I
to
love
own
it.
this movie.
I couldn't wait to own it 5 minutes in.
And I can't wait to see this movie again very, very
Yep.
soon. And tomorrow. All
Yes.
right. So, Tiffany,
Yes.
this is what it comes down to. Out of 5, what do you give Solo: A Star Wars Story?
I actually give it a 4.99999.
Ooh.
I would give it a 5, but it's just the couple things. Hey, baby. Hey,
Wookie, what do you give Solo?
I can't do the noise.
So,
But it's one of those things that I give it. The only reason why is just, a couple of the little things like that we talked about in the earlier part of this with, how he got his name and just, oh, here's your
Yeah.
blaster, kid.
yeah.
Other than that, I give it a 5 because I loved it. I love the story. I love where it went. And my Wookiee loves me too.
There you go.
Just
So
like Han.
for me, I will give this movie because of the couple little things with the Solo name and
Yeah.
a couple little
Otherwise,
things.
if they didn't do that, I would have given it
A couple
a 5.
little things were right on the nose, and some more stuff that I wish I would have seen more of.
Yes.
I'm gonna give it a 4.8. Okay, so
Pretty darn
4.8.
close to 5, though.
Pretty
if I
darn
say
close
so
to 5.
myself.
And I will just say this for all of you who are boycotting the movie
Don't.
because you
Quit.
didn't like The Last Jedi. Look, you're gonna have to accept the fact that there are gonna be Star Wars movies that you don't
Yep.
like. There are gonna be Star Wars movies that you do like.
I wasn't crazy about Rogue One. It's not that I hated it, but I didn't like it like it was like, oh my gosh, the best thing. So, and
Yeah.
I'm a Star Wars fan.
Look,
and
I liked Rogue One, but this movie is better than Rogue
Oh,
One.
heck yeah.
This movie is more for a Star Wars fan. And so I encourage you to go
Yep.
see it.
Go see it.
And we love it, and we hope that you do too. Will you let us know down in the comment section if you go see it, what you thought of it, what your
you didn't like it.
yeah, what your criticisms are.
We can
And
take it.
We can take it, and but let us know what you like about it. All right, and let's have a conversation because that's what we like to do here on the channel. All right, and if you're here, hey, subscribe. Let us know
Welcome.
let us know what you think of the channel. We're getting ready to rename the channel, so if you would,
Can
hey,
nerd out with us.
yes, please give us your suggestions for the name of the channel going forward. All right,
us ideas.
leave those down in the comment section because somebody
They will be
is going
considered.
to win that, and we might send you something. All right.
Ooh,
All
I
right.
like that. So does Wookiee.
Yes, Wookiee likes
You
that
like
too.
that?
Wookiee likes that too. So for
Ooh.
me, my wife Tiffany, and my Wookiee co-pilot, my name is Enosh, aka Enosh Vet.
I am Tiftastic or Grand Tif Tarkin, and this is our little Chewbacca.
Yes. And until next time, this has been Spoiled. We'll see you later. Bye bye.